All right, welcome everyone, Resemblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Orb on the Movements of the Earth, episode 19. Yolanda!
Yolanda, she's back!
Yolanda!
All right.
Yes!
Now let's publish a book.
Right.
That'll be an interesting endeavor.
Yes, with no actual manuscript.
Right.
And everybody that's published a book knows you kind of need a manuscript before you publish a book, don't you?
You do kind of need a manuscript. If Draka can just, like, bang out that manuscript, you know, right from the get-go. I mean, yeah, it wasn't that big of a book, and she does have a very good memory, but I will be surprised.
I mean, the further along you get from the time that you sat down reading it, the harder it's going to be to remember the things that were actually in there when you read it.
So maybe you get on that
Yolanda might be able to help fill in some of the blanks of the things that you have there.
Reverse engineer and all that stuff.
Exactly, but then you could put all kinds of things you want in there.
But I mean, hey, let's be real. You know, with any kind of good publication, you also want to make sure it reads well. And while I imagine it was a very heartfelt book that Oxy wrote, I wouldn't be surprised if it also could be cleaned up a bit and made a bit more easy to digest for, you know, your average person.
I'm just so excited for Yolanda to be in the story again. She's a really extremely fun character to have in this, and now that she's going to be much older, but probably more wizened and worldly in a lot of ways. I'm excited to see where her worldview has shifted or maybe even cemented and become more like empowered or strong.
I'm also very excited to see how her and Schmidt in particular interact, because Schmidt is such an extreme character and Yolanda is, like, as far as the person that we, you know, knew previously, so relatively balanced. I want to know how they temper each other out.
Yeah,
and how that balances.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Little lines in her eyes there. She's missing a tooth.
Yeah, got plucked out.
That's right, yeah. What about that, yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Perfect. Wandering is how you find what's right. Ooh.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Oh.
This, like, quirky, light-hearted music.
Whoa. Yeah.
They're frightened.
So, what you're saying has nothing to do with your faith. It's just you're worried about losing power. Oh.
I'm glad you figured that out.
Wow. Oh.
Okay. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, when he was doing the stuff with the book. Yeah. On their heads.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Wait, no, Potoki is the Rafal's father.
Right.
Teacher. Oh.
町外れの酒場に元異端審問官の男がいる
Here he is.
Oh my god.
あなたがノーバックさんですか？
Wow.
I love it.
Balding and old.
Uh-huh.
最近発生した事件についてご協力いただきたく。
異端審問官、君が
You don't look cut out for it.
今司教のダミアンっているじゃん。あれもともと俺の部下なの。今は俺を個人的に雇ってくれ。
Damn.
つまり俺は働かなくても金が入る自由でに入れたのよ。酒をおごらない人に用はないからさ。
そのダミアンさんに言われてきたんですが。
ああ、そう。だって
35年前、あなたが担当した地動説の
That'll get his attention.
The beginning
Yeah.
of all of this falling apart.
帰って
しかし、
Even while drunk, he can still find the exact spot where to plunge into the necklace.
And so that it doesn't like roll away or anything.
Right, right.
ありえない。もう
Uh-huh.
終わったやつだ。
Oh.
Yep.
今になってノート復活だと。私の娘を奪っておいて。
Oh man, I just want him to have closure and know that.
待て。
Yeah.
私も捜査に協力させてくれ。その解放戦線の
All right. He's back on the case.
Yeah.
異端者を解放する彼らがなぜ今回に限って本なんて狙ったの？
Yeah.
異端を解放することは目的ではなく、
Mhm.
手段であると仮定しよう。奴らの真の目的が教会正統派を打倒することだというのを本は効率よく人の質を変えうる可能性がある。
He's already cooking.
Mm-hmm.
異端審問官なら最新技術に注視するといい。最新技術はまず悪事に利用。
Oh boy.
奴らは今回本を出版する可能性が高い。意義がないなら早速印刷機職人と活字職人に聞き込む。最近になってブドウの圧搾機とか鉛を大量に入手した人物、場所がないかし。
Nice.
Wow. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
彼らは操られてるだけだ。被害者だよ。この命がある限り、
Wow.
今でも追いかけてやる。諸悪の根源を。指導説をぶち殺す。
Well,
動かないで。信用してないから。
Okay.
あの本に何の用が？あれを使って大儲けできそうだったから。しかもあなたたちは印刷機ってのまで持ってる。ずうずうしいってよく言われない？
Mm-hmm.
そんなにお金が重要。
20% of zero is zero.
Right.
あなたの燃やしたものはおそらく私の古い友人が書いたもの。
Uh-huh.
だからお金稼ぎの道具に終わらせてほしくない。それじゃもったいない。来て。惑星はそれぞれ進行速度が違う。あの土星があそこと同じ位置にいたのはどれくらい前だと思う？ 30年前。
Wow.
あの星があそこに
Yeah, I remember that exact point. Wow.
14歳で地動説に出会った。
Uh-huh.
その6年後、20歳で初めて人を殺した。土星は惑星の中で一番遅い。理由はおそらく太陽からの距離が一番遠いから。あなたの読んだ地動説を覗き込むと神の偉業が見えてくる。私の感動を必死に伝えてる。
はあ、だからなんで私にそんな話するんですか？
To inspire you.
簡単に言うと、なぜか今私とあなたが出会ったから。
Mm-hmm. Our own orbits.
Yeah.
金稼ぎを蔑むようだけど、あなたのやってることは人を殺して異端を解放して社会を乱す。
私は取り返してるだけ。教会に奪われた自由と人生。 とも
つまり権威の中で生じる思考停止は何も宗教だけじゃなく
True.
学
Yeah.
問ってものの中でも起こるんじゃないですか。
私も何度も人を殺した。確かに真理を盾に暴力は加速し、
Yeah.
つまり何かを前提にしないと論理
Yes.
を
Yep.
人間理性の本質的限界として、
Right.
そういう状況下で駆動した情熱が暴走ともいえる奇跡を経て、時には美しい偉業を、時には醜い悲劇を生む。
Yep. It circles around us, just a little bit out of reach.
自由の定義は
そう問えること。
Wow.
Nice.
Nice. Great answer.
少し喋りすぎたかな。あなたの条件だけど、利益の2割は渡せない。この本でお金
Yeah. I knew it.
何を売るかはあなたが新しく見つけ
Sure. There you
た。
go.
悪い条件じゃないと思うけど、
Yeah.
さて、本の内容を聞かせて。
All right.
私も古い友人と
Yeah.
久々に再会し
Yeah, and with what like books and all that means to her.
Perfect. Oh.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Oh.
That's below the belt, but boy does
That's
it work.
special. That was really sweet.
やっぱり文字は奇跡ですね。どうしてそんなに稼ぎたいの？
それが私の信念だからで。
でも時々信念なんて忘れさせる何かに出会ったりする。
True.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
でないと
でないと
私みたいになる。
Whoa.
でも信念を忘れたら人は迷う。
And episode title. Let's
Here
go.
we go. Drop the line. Keep wandering.
きっと迷いの中に倫理がある。
Yeah, not all who wander are lost.
Exactly.
God, the little deposits everybody's leaving with Draka are so cool. I'm excited to see how she survives all of them.
Yeah.
Ah. I love this show.
Good stuff.
I love this show so much.
All right.
Oh,
Awesome. This was-
Yolenta was just better than I could have even imagined.
Yep. We're back.
There's a lot of little things that I ended up realizing I had forgotten this episode, so I felt kind of silly in the reaction, but I'm glad I'm now like set straight with it. So Yolenta's the leader of this whole thing. Obviously, she survived everything. She's now here. We've got the book that was everything gathered together on the heads of those
Right.
men that had been
Grabowski
talked to by
found.
Botany, right? Who
Right.
then replicated and basically saved Oxy's book.
Yep.
Then Grabowski ended up taking them, ended up passing them down to then being put into this book here, which the
Right.
church inevitably got its hands on
Eventually.
somehow,
Yep.
basically. But it wasn't so dangerous in some way that it would end up actually getting
Right. It's
destroyed or what have you. It then ends up being the thing that Yolenta ends up getting to read through the narration or the
dictation.
the dictation. Thank
Yeah.
you, of Draka here, and thus the chain of all this is connected.
Yep.
And yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And
Yeah.
but we didn't just get Yolenta this episode. We also got Novak.
We got Novak,
And
because if
that-
we get Yolenta, of course we gotta
Of
get
course,
Novak.
yeah,
then.
the package deal. And that made me so happy. Like the way that we get to see him, and yeah, he's just stabbing that damn necklace because yeah, like the way the satisfaction.
Schmidt would have a thing to tell him about fate. He'd be like, "Oh, you have a pretty shit fate, don't you?"
And he'd be like, I have a knife and you're awful close to be
Ho,
saying
ho, ho.
that, right? But the idea that this is basically where we get the full circle for Rafal, right? With
Right.
that conversation that stuck in his head. And of course, it wasn't necessarily going to change the way he acts or anything
No.
like that, right? But it's going to be that thing that he remembers. And now when his life is basically entirely fallen apart, right? those words just still echo in his mind. And then someone comes along and they're like, oh, hey,
You're the guy who was the expert on that thing from forever ago.
It's like, yeah, I don't care. Go away. I don't want to talk to you.
So it kind of like came back to life again recently. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Right.
All that work I did is about to be undone. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay,
And
yeah,
then he
I'll get back
immediately
on the
goes,
case.
oh, no, I know the psychology of these types of people.
Right.
They don't care about heretics or what have you.
That's the
They
objective.
want this
Or that's
whole
means to an end.
world to be revolutioned in some ways.
Right.
So, no, they're thinking about how they could potentially take down the entire church. Which, if they have a book like that, yeah, they could do it.
That's what their actual goal was, and then they'd want to distribute that. Okay, and yeah, movable type. All right, that's how they do it. And I love that gives directly a bunch of very specific leads to go off of, right? Where it's like,
Right. It's the kind of thing where we can let Novak and company kind of sit in the background until they inevitably
Cook
have
for a
their
bit.
moment where it's just like, go.
yeah, exactly.
And it's just like,
right.
you wouldn't happen to be, you know,
Yep.
so-and-so.
Yeah, right. They get to some craftsman, some person, and I love the idea of also check around with people that would have bought any wine presses because
Or a whole bunch of lead recently.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, right, they're going to be trying to do this off the books, make it themselves. I love it, right? And lead's something that's easy to work with, right? So that makes sense that would be something you would use for movable type.
It would be cheap as well.
Yeah, and you wouldn't need a big facility in order to melt it down and things like that, right? So yeah, makes total sense. But okay, I love it, and I'm so excited because this also means because of how Yolenta's kept herself hidden, it's not necessarily going to lead back to her.
No,
but it's going to lead back to people connected to her, right? And so we get to see Novak be terrifying, go back to work as an Inquisitor. And then, at the end of the journey, maybe he catches up to her and it's just,
maybe.
What?
But then we have, another young upstart here who's then underneath, well, not really underneath, but in peers to Damien, the guy who ended up telling Novak that and lied to him that his daughter was burned at the stake.
Yep.
So, yeah, this guy's already had his own kind of coming around full circle moment as well.
Oh, sure. Yep.
The way that this is all tying back into previous arcs and characters is very fun.
Yes.
I'm excited for this one to be maybe the final one of the season then.
It does feel very much like a main arc, if that makes sense. Like if they fail here, then they basically have to rely on Draka having buggered off somewhere else and being
being a little bit greedy still.
And just being greedy and being like, all right, yeah, I'll risk life and limb for some cheddar,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. I love the conversations surrounding the idea of the sun and the whole kind of points of sorry, that was the previous episode. But basically, the sunrise then that Yolenta then takes her out to see,
right,
and shows her at these early hours of the morning that there's Saturn, the world and all that it is, repeats in these ways, and I get to have the privilege to cross paths with these specific people from the past and see the order by which things are governed. I love the scope of this story, but there's something so human and sad with how just lonely Yolenta is.
Sure.
That she feels like Draka's the only person that she can talk to about this.
Well, right. The only person she can talk to about it, but also the plot's set up in a fun way. And I think this is why the whole idea of I destroyed the thing, but I have it in my head is so effective as a plot event to happen.
Sure.
Is because then you can't just strong arm the person into giving you what you want. If they have the book, you kill them and take it from them, right? Or if it's hidden somewhere, you threaten their loved ones or whatever, right? But you can't do that here. You actually have to get their compliance. And because you can't just get their compliance in a telling you something, but on a qualitative level, you have to have them actually
they have to
want to help you, right? Yeah. And so Yolenta has to get to know her here, right? She has to inspire her in some way, make her buy into the cause because, sorry, Han, you're probably not going to get too much money from this, but I can give you something that will give you money. But, hopefully you'll be willing to basically actually like be bought in enough with this so that you'll give me the real thing and not, just be like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but I don't think she's just doing this to convince her to do it. She's like going to figure out some kind of deal at some point to give her the ability to do this. She's like, no, I want to talk to you about this because you're like one of the only people that actually knows anything about this heliocentrism stuff because you actually read the book. You actually know all this stuff here. And there's just something so, I don't know, sad about Yolenta having killed people, having had to abandon basically her father, having to go forth with this is going to be worth it in the end. I'm going to have killed tons of people. My organization's going to have killed tons of people. We might be bringing about like a societal collapse of some kind if we actually do take down the church orthodoxy. Yeah, there might be tons more tragedy that comes from this. And yeah, I might be so blind in my faith that this is just the right thing to do.
Right, I'm doing similar things to what the church is doing,
Right. But it's the, like, I have to know that, like, because there's freedom that's coming about because of this, I'm right. Like, this is actually a good thing. And her answer of, like, well, then, like, how do you define freedom? And it's the like, well, the ability to ask that.
Right.
And it's such a good end to the conversation that all these characters from the beginning of the story have just wanted the freedom to go and look up at the sky and wonder and wander and ask questions and not have to be certain about some things. And here's Draka being like, how are you so certain? She's like, I'm not really.
But I'm obsessed with the luxury of being uncertain.
No, I just like she's going forth with just enough conviction to be like, yeah, I'll just see.
Right.
I'll just see.
Yep.
I don't know for sure. I just love having Draka coming in here with this conviction about money being the thing that's going to be her answer, that's going to solve all of her problems here, than being told like, no, don't live in certainty. Go wander some more. Go be free. Go actually be free. Like, yeah, you can get a lot of strength from that conviction, and money can take you pretty far as a conviction goes. It's a pretty helpful
it's
one.
It's a perfectly fine conviction,
one. But yeah, otherwise you'll end up like me. And I could just feel the loneliness in that of, like, we'll probably never see each other again. You did your thing with me here.
Thank you.
But let me pass on something across time, if you will, to a younger girl that I wish I could still speak to,
Sure.
I don't know. I just feel something so powerfully sad and human about this exchange here. Because the conversation continues long after she's passed on the work. Like, this is after the days started and everything.
Yep.
She's done all the
They worked through the night or whatever.
Worked through the night.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, please heed my my warnings here. I don't know.
Well, and I feel like that makes a lot of sense for Yolenta to be the one to say it too, because if you think about the church, right, it is an organization where, the whole issue with it is that it's a bunch of collected conviction that runs rampant, right? And maybe gets so twisted to the point that, the original conviction isn't even there or held by some of the people that are making decisions, right?
Definitely not there what it was originally. We can even use our own example of this, given that this is a fictional, historical, kind of inspired story.
Right.
The Catholic Church is nothing like what the old like Christian church was in its earliest years and stuff. Not just because it didn't have power and influence and what have you, but the whole like image of it was like the whole mantra of it was entirely different.
And so Yolenta here, having suffered at the hands of that, right, having had her entire life upended because of it, then acknowledging the ways in which, I am, that's that's not something where I can say that I'm fundamentally different, right? I don't run any danger of following that path, right? That's what people do. That's a part of human nature. I'm no exception. But yeah, I'm still willing to risk everything. I'm still willing to go all in on this. And if that's something that seems off to you, then, take this as a lesson from, someone who's just a bit further along than you are.
Yeah. I just love stories with characters who we've watched change over the course of time, then try desperately to pass on what little they've learned to someone, but without the arrogance of, I'm certain that this is the right thing. There's something about the wise people that aren't wise because they know the answer and they know the key. It's that they go and tell people to then never stop questioning things. Yeah. Go wander. Go be free. Don't be certain. Let things be unsettled. It's just, there's something so beautiful in that, because I feel like that's kind of what the uncle was a little bit trying to get at, and did a really shit job at it.
Right. He got at the underlying principles, just he was still a really shitty person.
Well, he was misguided at least, and I would say he was a bad communicator.
Right. Because so much of it was colored with his own perspective on things.
Right.
And,
Yeah. But wow, if this is not a big arc, though, if it gets resolved in the next episode, and Draka is the continuing point to again have this continue forth. Oh, because I mean, I think so much that they've basically collapsed down into a very simple story direction and structure that you wouldn't really need to follow too much of this group beyond what Schmidt's gonna do. Like they're going to try to get the book printed and published and all that.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Novak and company is going to try to stop them.
Right. And
that could make things last more than one episode. There could be some conflict that drags things out a little bit.
Or maybe they succeed in getting some of the books out there, and then it's the okay, put out all the fires, root out where the source is coming from to stop that, and basically wrap everything up. And so maybe it's the this is where it first sort of pops up. This is patient zero kind of. And then,
right.
And then they manage to stop it. You have some, heartrending conclusion where Novak realizes that he's, helped the church finally catch and execute his daughter, right? Maybe he dies defending her or something like that, right?
That would be
and it's the okay, that's the end of that, but oh hey, no, not actually. Draka's still out there, and it's someplace real far away, where the church isn't immediately on her tail or anything. She then gets the production going, and then it's
It could be fun if they then end up doing another time skip here where it's she does end up joining their group, more maybe the extremist group with Schmidt and all that. And it's that the printing press side of things gets stopped in some ways, but it's that Schmidt's group is still then the more active front for a lot of this.
That's a good point, because we do see her more grown up and with the uniform in the opening. Yeah. So but also the whole idea of just publishing it and doing the printing press stuff and all that, even without church interference, that would take a long time.
It would take a little bit of time, but it wouldn't take as long as you'd think. That's the thing. We are already moving through the story quite quickly, in that we had a 25-year or 20-something year time skip,
right? Just
casually. So if we wanted to do a 2-year time skip, that's how much time it would take for the book to be circulated very quickly,
right? And probably quite thoroughly,
especially if it's free. If they're basically selling it for nothing.
Yep.
And it's no. This is going to change your world. Tell everybody about this.
Right. Well, and once
maybe they don't get it, but still.
And once you start doing it a few times, then it's you're not stamping out people that have the book. You're stamping out production locations, right?
Right.
Where it's someone else, got their copy of the book and got, a bunch of, movable type, and now they're making it.
Right. Because you could have people then make, because this was dictated over the course of a night.
Right.
So printing, it's going to be very quick. you get 10 to 100 copies and then have your followers just go boom, just go everywhere.
Right. And be like, all right, cool. They get stopped here. And it's like, that doesn't matter.
Don't publish all at the same time. Publish over the course of the next 2 years.
And don't publish in a trickle.
Right.
Print a shit ton.
And then do the same thing.
Distribute them all
Repeat the
and
process.
then disappear. Yeah, exactly. Go somewhere else, repeat the process.
Yeah, give one to a bunch of people, spread out again.
Yep.
And it'll be like constant pockets of...
Like a virus, actually.
Yeah, actually, right.
Have an incubation period and make sure that incubation period is long and thorough.
Knowledge should be viral. Knowledge should be free. And we're liberating that. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
But
Father-daughter reunion.
Father-daughter reunion.
Let's go.
At maybe both ends of the sword.
Possibly. Yeah.
And I'm talking about the same sword, probably, too.
Yeah, maybe. Although, let's be real. I think it's far more likely that it'd be a situation where, Novak shows up with a bunch of dudes with crossbows and all that stuff, and then suddenly it's oh shit, they recognize each other. And doesn't matter what you decide, Novak, there's a bunch of dudes with crossbows.
Yeah, it's been a long time, though. I think it's more likely that she'd recognize him, but he wouldn't recognize her.
She'd say something.
Because she knows who he is.
Right.
But he's not looking for her.
No, absolutely. Yep.
Like, he's just not. But
yeah.
Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel. See if any of that interests you. We'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.